Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So just recently, the mother and brother of the late Stephen Twitch boss by the name of Connie Boss Alexander and Dre Rose sat down with Gayle King and CBS Mornings, and they talked about, basically gave their side of the story, if you will, concerning the situation with the late Stephen Twitch boss, what Allison Holker, his widow, has done, this memoir that she has put out, basically exposing all of his most secret details that, as we've talked about on this channel, obviously if he wanted out there, he would not have put it in a journal, hid it in his closet, and never told her about it. Now we're going to start from the beginning with this interview that they said, if I'm not mistaken, they sat down and made right before she released that memoir that had to be a punch in the gut to his mother and to his brother, to his family in general. Now, Gayle King asked some questions, which were all long overdue. People forgot that this has been 2 years since this man has passed. I don't remember his mother actually being able to sit down publicly and express how she felt about this situation. She deserved the platform to be able to do so because she's his mother. This has been 2 years, so imagine holding all this in for 2 years. Miss Connie Boss Alexander told Gayle King, even after these 2 years, she still misses and will forever miss seeing his face, the empathy, the family closeness that they had. She said that we are a very close family, that we like to show affectionate. He would always hug me, give me a kiss on the forehead. That was always our thing. That she's going to still deeply miss that they're all still grieving over the loss of this man. She went into how when the tragedy happened, not long before that, she had talked to him about normal stuff, normal everyday stuff, thinking that life was going to go on as normal conversations, only to get a phone call the morning of, if I remember correctly, that she said Allison Holker had asked her, had she heard from Twitch Boss as of late. Then later on, one of her family members called her to let her know the unfortunate tragedy had taken place. And she said she just dropped. Y'all, no mother should have to bury her son. It was very heartbreaking to watch this woman recount what happened, how she felt that time whenever she received that phone call. Now, they did go into, once again, the NDA and the allegations, if you will, of her saying that she found in his journal, allegedly, I know I have to say allegedly, her claiming that he had written in his journal about being mishandled when he was younger by an older, influential male figure in his life. Now, this is another part of this that makes her very despicable. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, because they said, y'all know I have to say allegedly, they said allegedly and claimed that they were not aware that this had happened to Stephen. They were never even aware of this information. They said he never came to us and told us that he had been mishandled. We're not saying that it's not the truth, although we had never heard of this from him, and maybe this did happen and he just never felt okay with coming out. There are some people, they have gone through very traumatic things of this nature and they never talk about it. Some people take that kind of stuff to the grave. And it's not always because, they didn't trust the family. Maybe it's because he didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to talk about it, especially if it happened at a very young age. Some people don't open up about this kind of stuff, especially if it was somebody in the family who did it, because they're afraid in their thought process of what the outcome might be. What if mom and dad, goes over and goes upside the person's head and then they end up getting arrested? What if something happens? What if they don't believe me? This is like the thought process of people who've gone through stuff like this. Now, of course, people are still encouraged to still, speak out about the trauma. Like, you have to talk to somebody at some point in time. And even if you don't feel comfortable, you have to talk to God about it. Sometimes that's the only person who you can go to. But like I said before, they were saying we never knew this information. We were never aware of this. But imagine how we felt whenever she came out talking about, I found this journal in his closet filled chock full of stuff that he never trusted me enough to tell me. And I just exploited it to everybody. Like, imagine how his mother, his father, his brother, the people who loved him, his close friends and family, how they felt knowing that this woman took all of his, once again, deepest trauma and just exposed it for a profit, for clout, if you will. Things that they didn't even know, that he didn't even open up himself and talk about. They were saying, imagine how we felt. This is the first that we're hearing of this. And it wasn't even from him. And he's deceased. So again, this is why people keep saying she's despicable for this. And low-key, I feel like she almost was trying to push this narrative that like, oh, it was somebody in the family. Once again, we don't know this information because we were not there. Like I said, they're not denying that it happened to him. Although for her to throw that out there and like even his brother said, have us all looking at each other like, okay, she's saying that this is what he put in the journal. Now we're looking all at each other sideways like, who could it have possibly been? She single-handedly caused so much confusion and so much just by doing that alone. But oh, it gets even worse. Like I said before, they didn't just talk about her putting that out there and basically saying, oh, he was on drugs, the cornucopia comment. Ridiculous. How far in the dictionary did you have to reach to grab that out? He basically said, his brother said, well, we were aware that he did some things here or there, but the way she made it seem was completely wrong. Absolutely wrong. And they was like, we never held it against him that he might have did some things here or there. Most people have done some things here or there. But he was saying the way she portrayed it was absolutely wrong. And people kept bringing up he did not have drugs in his system when he was deceased. The toxicology report, y'all know I have to say allegedly, came back clean. So once again, people are calling her out for these comments that she's making, this narrative she's pushing, making him look like he was an addict. And once again, she didn't have to come out and say, oh, he was an addict. She may as well have with the narrative that she's been pushing since all of this, her putting out this memoir has been kicked up, that she got kicked up. Even with the NDA, listening to Gayle King explain what was going on with that, it sounded like just a bunch of deception, a bunch of deceit, that she wanted them to sign it under the impression of one thing with ulterior negative motives underneath. Having them think, oh, it's because, once again, the whole picture thing. Oh, well, she didn't want us, I guess, to take pictures of him while he was in the casket or whatever. And even his mother said that was ridiculous. Where did she even get that from? She knows we would have never done something like that. I said this in the previous video. Everybody who spoke on him, besides her and her daughter, spoke very highly of him. They said that he was a great person. He was always selfless. He was very sweet. Always thinking about other people, how he can make other people happy. They loved him. The people around him, his friends, his family, they loved him. They would have never done something like that to disrespect him. And they were explaining that that's how they know that excuse was not valid, was not the truth. They were saying this whole NDA, it was just a bunch of mess that she had twisted up to essentially keep them from saying anything, speaking on his experiences, their experiences with him. She was basically trying to capitalize off of that, make it to where, sort of in a way, she could monopolize his life and experiences so only she could talk about it. Unless they all want to face consequences, legal consequences, maybe even financial consequences. And again, as some people have been saying in these comments, it's giving you wanted to be able to say whatever you wanted about him, whether it was right or the truth, and keep other people like his family who loved him and would have never wanted that information out, never wanted you to tarnish his reputation like that, to be able to say anything against you or bring the actual truth. It's also giving, you didn't want them to question, was there actually something else that happened to him? What else may or may not have happened to him? Y'all know we have to say allegedly for the obvious reasons. But again, there was a part in there where she said, to make me sign an NDA to see my child. We know he was a grown man, but that's always going to be her child, her son. Someone she birthed into this world. That was despicable, y'all. That was malicious. It doesn't matter what anybody tries to say to justify it. And again, the people in the YouTube comments felt the same way. It's just sad and unfortunate that this woman played mental gymnastics with them, legal gymnastics as well, to basically put in place legal, like I said, possible financial repercussions if they spoke out after she got out here and said all this crazy stuff about somebody who's no longer here to defend himself and somebody who they love very deeply. Once again, to try and combat those NDAs, they could argue that they were under duress. It was very brave of them to come out and still try to do what they could to combat what she was saying, to speak their experiences, their side of the story, because their voices as his brother and mother deserve to be heard. It was very brave what they did. And I really hope that they don't face those, like I said, possible legal or financial repercussions because, of course, of all of, once again, the unethical things surrounding the situation, making his own mother and brother sign NDAs for greedy reasons, and then using the excuse of, oh, we didn't want him or her to take a picture of him in the casket, knowing that they would never do that. Anyways, once again, I pray that this all gets resolved. I pray and hope that the truth comes to light, and I hope and pray that God comforts his family and helps them during this process of which they are still grieving, even 2 years later. I pray that God fixes this situation because it's all the way messed up and shady, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel about this down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.